Well, he's not going to talk about speed limits, and he's not going to talk about DUIs, and he's not going to talk about boating safety. He used to do a lot of that stuff when he would join us. Oh gosh, right up until the just early part of this year. Dan Tom in the studio with us today. We can't call him Sergeant anymore.
You
I guess
can, but
as an honorific.
yeah, you call me most reverend. I don't know.
Call him retired,
Well, you know what?
sort of.
I have a name in Thailand. It's called They call me Long Nuat, which means older brother mustache. I don't know. The gal next door here in the radio station, she said, "You still look like Lorax from the radio,
Well,
cartoon show."
and the thing is, though, since you've left, Tom Carter is still upholding the tradition of
Yes,
great
he is. I
mustaches
saw him the other
at
day,
the
and his
office.
mustache it would look good. It really did.
I think the two of you were in some sort of competition.
Well, at one point we wanted to do it, and then somebody said we better not do that, so we didn't do it. We were going to do, the vote for the best mustache, and then the other one had to shave it off. And I thought, I could beat Tom.
It's coming up on 7:36. Dan Tom with us this morning, and Bill Colley too on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 65 right now. I'm sometimes still getting used to the distance to the computer here and the trifocals, but Dan retired, sort of, and then he took a job, and he is working at an orphanage in Thailand, a Christian orphanage, right?
Yes, yes.
And that is just an extension of your faith.
Yep.
How did you ever come about this decision? It's a huge move to go halfway around the world and put yourself down in the center of another culture.
Well, it's a long process. I mean, we've been visiting Thailand for the last 13 years with teams. From the Twin Falls Reformed Church, we've been taking teams. The first team we went there was with like 11 people in 2006, right after the tsunami. And we wanted to partner our church with somebody over there that wanted to help. And the interesting part of this is that we lived in Australia, and we sent a team to Thailand in '89. And the lady that led the team stayed there, and we got in contact with her, and she had started a home for children, and that's kind of how we got started into it. But when we look at our life, sometimes we got to put together. God does stuff all the time. He leads one thing to the next, and before I left, we talked for about an hour on the radio, and you said, "Did law enforcement prepare you for what you're doing?" I went, "Oh my gosh, it did. It really did. It taught me how to deal with people. It taught me how to deal with situations, and it really taught me to be confident in myself, not only who I am, but who God's made me." So that's been the blessing. And we picked up and moved there, and it's like another home. We call it our other home. We have Ida home and Thai home.
There's got to still be, though, a few, because now that you're there, you had spent time there, but now that you're there on a somewhat permanent basis, there had to be a few things that probably, that you don't have access to, perhaps, conveniences that you have here.
Yeah, I don't know if I missed anything. Truly, we were there 4 months, and I didn't miss any of the food from America. Matter of fact, my wife sat down and cooked breakfast for me, and we had eggs and bacon and some hash browns, I think. And I went, "Oh, I miss American breakfast." It took me 4 months to realize what I had missed, American breakfast. But you know what, I don't know if I consider Thailand a third world country because there's so much access there. So the medical care is good. Many of the doctors are trained in the U.S., Canada, Europe, and they practice there. So the medical care is not saying we have the best medical care. Well, we do, but the training gets there, and so we have that. And a lot of the stuff, the tools and things that we need, I'm buying there. We used to bring over from the U.S., but it's changed. The work is hard. I work harder now than I ever have when I worked for the sheriff's office or when I was building houses, because we have 80 children. And so if for anybody out there listening, you know what children do to a house. We'll put 80 of them in there, and about 60% of them are boys. And so they're hard on things. And so I spend all my time fixing, repairing, painting, and rewiring stuff. But I love it. It's not I get up in the morning and go, "Oh, I got to go to work." No, it's like I get up in the morning, I get to go. So that's the nice part of it. I've just been loving it. And my wife, she's if you opened up the dictionary and looked under administrator, her picture would be there. I don't have to think about administration stuff. She does that all, and she's great at it. So
The people that you meet, and I'm sure they're just as curious about you. It's not a lot of Americans who show up there. More than we probably realize, but still, you're in a fairly remote part of the country, as I understand.
northern Thailand, about 100 miles from the Burma border. No, not that, about 60 miles from the Burma border. And there's a part of the city that has kind of a tourist loop that people come through and loop through. But the people that we work with, all our villages are well, anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 hours away from the foundation that we're at. And when I talk about a village, my wife and I minister to the Aka people. We live in Thailand, minister to the Aka people. Aka people are like, I have described it like the American Indians, how we have different tribes. I don't know how many hundreds of different tribes we have in the U.S., but in Southeast Asia, there's about five different tribes. No, seven actually, seven different tribes. And Aka is the poorest of the poor, the most abused. More prostitutes are Aka, more drug dealers, and so. Um, 25 years ago, a man named Ajay starting to really bring the gospel, and now 33, not because of him, but because of God, but 33% of the Aka, 2 million Aka in Southeast Asia are Christian. And so there's a huge movement, and we're starting to see them become leaders in the Thai world because they're not Thai. They don't get a Thai citizenship because they're born in Thailand. They have to gain a citizenship. It may cost, go to school, whatever. And their kids are raised in the mountains. And so if you want a kid to get a good education, he has to go to a bigger town. So that's what the foundation is. It's a children's home. We call it an orphanage sometimes, but the children still have family. There's only about 3 children there that don't have any family. They have grandparents or uncles or aunts or cousins that are still alive, and so that's part of it. Is we give them the opportunity to go to school in a Christian environment too, which is nice.
The children themselves, these are young people who probably are not looking forward to a lot of great prospects in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that out of those 80 children, I would say 70 of them were sexually abused. That's just a common thing in this. And so there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain. We've got great people that are there to help counsel with it and bring them through that and give them hope and not allow them to be victims anymore. And I think that's the part of it is bringing the hope of Jesus and giving them the tools to really become world changers. That's what I call them, world changers. Because you watch these kids grow up, and I've seen them for the last 13 years.
There have
It's
to
incredible.
be, though, some enlightened people in the Thai government who really support what you're doing. If they can't do it financially, but they support it
Yeah,
otherwise.
absolutely. Yeah, it's the foundation is very well respected in Thailand. Ajay, his last name is Kakua Kasim. I have a hard time saying it's like 23 letters, um, and he's very well respected. He's the first Aka that ever had a doctorate, and so there's a lot of respect that way. And he's very interactive with all the stuff that goes on.
The actual day-to-day work you're working on, I guess, building maintenance. You're working on grounds maintenance. It's just a series of a lot of people might look at that kind of work and say, once you retire, you should find something a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, they can look at. I love it. I love being busy. And for this kind of stuff is repairing things. I mean, again, you have 80 children; they're breaking everything. Um, and repairing things, it's just maybe it's the sense that I'm doing it for a higher cause instead of just gaining money. I'm doing it to bless my God and bless the children and bless the people. That works okay for me. I don't have any trouble with that. I haven't had to use any of my law enforcement stuff since I've been there, which is really good. I'm glad of that. I do have suspicions on things sometimes. Look at it.
Does local law enforcement know your background?
Yeah, I have only met one police officer in the 4 months we were there, and he's a guy I meet every time I go down to the market, and I talk with him. He was a cop in the U.S. He's a cop there now, and I said, "Do you guys ever want training and stuff like that? I'd be glad to help." He goes, "No, we don't want your training." Yeah, law enforcement in different countries is different. It's more people are afraid of law enforcement than they are happy to see it. A lot more corruption.
Yeah, and still on the other hand, they deal with a lot of probably some of the most horrific crimes we could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, and you know what? The term perp walk for people that don't know it is that if you catch somebody and you can perp walk them, you walk them down and the people take pictures and put in the newspaper. Oh my gosh, they have perp walks there that are incredible. A crime scene with a murder. They'll have the suspect standing over the body and they'll take a picture of it. It's a totally different view of stuff there, and yeah, some of that culturally it shakes you a little bit. Like this would never happen in America. We're not in America anymore, so you have to think of it that way.
The Thailand Civil Liberties Union has not.
No, that's not going to happen.
We're going to take a short break for the Rush Morning Update, but you're going to stick around
You bet.
through 8 o'clock with us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the mission work that Dan Tom is involved with in Thailand, and a little bit, maybe we'll talk a little bit about how you can help out too this morning, because I'm sure that there's always a need and a growing need in that part of the world. It is 67. Bill Colley with you too on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. Rush Morning Update in just a moment. Dan Tom is joining us in the studio. You may remember when he was here a lot more frequently. The problem is getting him in studio from his current location in Thailand is it'd be a costly flight on
It's a long drive.
Long drive, yes. Some paddling in the middle.
Yeah.
So Dan is spending some time with us on Magic Valley this morning. We're at 66 on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. Bill Colley with you. It's 7:50. About 10 minutes from 8 o'clock. The orphanage that you're doing the mission work at, obviously, this is always going to have a constant need in that part of the world. I don't think that they're going to become first world in the next generation. Maybe in a couple, but
I don't think so either.
This is going to have a constant need. So people, how can they help out? Because these are people in a part of the world. The word destitute is common.
Well, for the life of me, I don't know if some people. I bet you many of the people in the Magic Valley have not left the United States. And if they have, it's been to the places where it's tourism, right? And so you walk into a country, if let's say we go downtown Seattle and we walk the streets and we see beggars or we see, street kids. And that's like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. This isn't something that you see every day in Asia, not just Thailand, but in Asia. Children, there's one beggar that I constantly will always drop her a couple pennies. Shouldn't say pennies, a couple dollars, I guess would be the way to do it, whenever I see her, because she's been there for 13 years, the same lady, and I'm sure she makes a living and I'm doing it. But when you see that, and when you see children that haven't eaten for a couple days, or they have scabies or lice or whatever it might be, it starts to rock your world. When it becomes mundane to you, that's when it's scary. And so I think that the culture, it has become mundane to them. So for people coming into it, we want to help. We want to help as best we can. But the thing is, we're not here to rescue to Thailand. We're not here to rescue. We're here to serve. And if we get that idea through our heads, if we're here to serve the people and not rescue the people, because the American way of life is wonderful. I'm not denying that, but they're not American. They're Thai. We want to help them become fully who they are in Christ and who they are in Thai. And so that's the idea. A lot of times older missionaries, when they went in the early 1900s, it was to change them to become Western Christians. And that's not, I don't think, what God wanted us to do. I think he wanted, because every culture, the gospel can be related in every culture. And so every culture is redeemable. And I think that's the big thing that my wife and I see is that we just want to help. We want to serve these people and make them the best who they can be, not only in their culture in Christ. And so that's kind of our goal.
Is there sometimes surprise for people that there are folks willing to come from halfway around the world and just do the service?
Oh yeah, we'll ride up into a village, and sometimes it takes a couple of hours on a dirt road that you get beat up in a truck. We'll ride up into a village, and my wife and I will just come up there to be partners with the people that are bringing the message or whatever it might be, and they're always so gracious to us. They want to feed us their best food. I'm thinking, you guys don't have anything, and you want to feed us the best food. It's very humbling at times, And I never say I like something, food or otherwise, because they want to give it to you. I love your coat. They would take it off their back and give it to you. So I'm really cautious that way. But they're so gracious. The Aka people and the Thai people together, a very gracious group of people. Easy to serve.
If you accept something from someone, though, you try to reciprocate.
It's that culturally you should. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to be cautious. And so we have some neighbors. We brought over some fruit one day, all cut up on a plate, real pretty. We brought it over. I didn't think about it, and then next day they came over and brought something a little nicer, and I went, oh, I did something wrong. So as we've become friends with our neighbors, it's more of it's a gift because we love you instead of it's a gift to be friendly. It's that kind of the idea behind it. So yeah, learning culture is probably the hardest part of what we do.
Is the orphanage in need though? If someone wanted to write a check.
Well, let me explain the orphanage because, again, it's a children's home. I call it /orphanage, but it's fivefold. There's the children's home that is there, which about 80 kids. There's a media center that produces the gospel message, and so they can get into closed countries. So Thailand's surrounded by closed countries, all of them communist, almost all. And so bringing the gospel isn't legal to do. So they do it through Facebook, they do it through zip drives, whatever it might be, YouTube, however it is. There's a Bible school there. There's church planting there, and sometimes I forget the last one. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's all encompassed in that, and so the children have a support system in regards to how much we raise for them. It's about $120 a month per child. No one, none of the Western staff is paid. We're all volunteer. The ACA staff is paid. They're paid $200 a month, which is a lot of money in Thailand. But so they work hard. So when somebody gives, you can guarantee that it's going to go to help the children. It's nothing. No, none of the administrators are paid. It's all things. So if somebody wants to look at giving or donating, it's spelled AKHA, AKA Outreach Foundation. There's a website for it, AKHK, and you can read all about it. And there's a donation part on that if they're interested in donating. And and there's always stuff going on. But it gives you a good idea of what kind of things they could do. So if anybody's interested in children, they can always give us a call too on our Tom Ministry thing Facebook page, and ask us questions. We'd love to answer those, and give some information about that too.
Here we go. Is it AKHK Foundation ONG Community Facebook? Is that the same thing? I just pulled this up. No, that's out of
AKHA. AKHA.
Okay.
AKA.
AKHA.
AKA Outreach
I'll get
Foundation.
this.
Yeah.
I'll get this.
But it's a very
There we
well
go.
put together. Yeah, it's a very well put together website. It's updated all the time, and so if anybody wants to take a look at that, you can see what they do and all the stuff that's going on there too.
I see some young boys here on the
Oh my goodness,
They look like they're performing martial arts.
Oh, the boys, they wear me out, man. They hang on me like I'm a jungle gym.
when you're in this type of job, you have to. There's certain mindset you have to have in law enforcement, which is you always have to be on alert.
Yeah, well, I have no space there. Okay,
Right.
Law enforcement, you have a space. Don't get in my space. I'll push you away and I'll back up, right? There is no space on the foundation. These kids literally hang on me all the time. I had to learn that space thing doesn't work. And a man, when he talks to you, he'll place his hand on your shoulder, on your leg, on your hip, and talk with you very close. That would never happen in law enforcement. But that's a cultural thing. It's not an advance on you sexually in any way. It's a cultural thing. That's how they do it. You'll see men walking down the street holding hands, or women walking. That's just culturally how they do it. That shows that they're friends.
Well, you had to, though, in a sense, turn off a quarter century of law enforcement.
It's hard at times. It truly is hard at times. My wife goes, okay, there was a young man that was not doing well, and I needed to give him the talk, right? So I have a translator, and my translator's with me, and I'm telling him, don't do this and don't do this, and pull your head out of your butt. Okay, you can't say that in Dhaka because it doesn't translate. The translator looked at me, shook her head, and goes, what did you say? And that may be a comment that I use in law enforcement a whole bunch. And she goes, oh, I said, okay, tell him he needs to think better and not and think in a different way. It was one of that father police talk thing. And so, yeah, I have, my wife says I need to turn that down a little bit sometimes.
I got to tell you a quick story here because we're running out. We're only got about 30 seconds to go. But Coach Pete Colson, who was on the show with me a couple of months ago, Pete is listening this morning. He's going to be on next Wednesday morning, and he just wants me to pass along that he's very much enjoying the conversation this morning. So he does similar work, very similar work. Yeah. He'll be with us on Wednesday morning next week, and
he's got a great story about his life too.
Oh, yeah. And I still don't know how, after growing up in Germany, or at least Austria, where you're a German-speaking country, you don't detect any accent.
No, you don't. Not at all.
I'd have a problem. People would be like, what'd you say? Well, Dan, I want to thank you for coming by this morning.
Well, we'll come back next summer.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, don't swim, but please fly. All right. Who's coming up
thank
next?
you. And thank all the listeners, too. They've been so gracious. I hear they say stuff to me all the time, so thanks so much.
Outstanding. News is on the way. And then the Gun Guys on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com at 65. We're at 7:59.